Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Bad Catholic Dads. I'm here, Derek Rogers, along with the sidekick, the newly appointed father, John Perez.
Hey,
John,
how's it going?
Be with you.
Good, I'm good.
Hey,
crazy times at the Perez house, but yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you.
It's so exciting, and mom and baby are healthy and well.
Mom and baby are healthy. It was pretty, like a lot of people were saying, second baby a lot faster than first baby coming out.
I know. I was angry at my wife on the second one because I couldn't finish my book that I wanted to finish while we were in the hospital. So I was like, honey, just come on.
Yeah. So yeah, it was much faster. We had a midwife deliver our baby this time. Which was really cool. We'll get into it as a bonus episode. I think we're gonna do a bonus episode on this,
I think we're gonna do a bonus episode.
So we won't get too into it, but it was a really awesome experience. It was basically just like she had different techniques than a doctor, and it worked for my wife so much better than the first time.
Oh, fantastic! Well, I can't wait to hear about this in the bonus episode.
And she's doing great.
Man.
Baby's doing great. Yeah. So we're all great. We're all at home.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about that in the bonus episode thing.
Yeah. Tune in for that one.
Here. Yeah, Bad Catholic Dads. We're a podcast that shows how crazy, awesome, and authentic Catholic fatherhood is. So we get to share some of our stories. We're going to be sharing some of our listener mail questions that came in on Facebook and social media stuff. Mm-hmm. So the first couple questions is Patty Lang on Facebook. She's an incredible choir director, by the way.
Is she your choir director at your church? Okay,
yep.
Cool.
At St. Andrew the Apostle. And their first question is, what is with the man bun?
What's with the man bun? Do you still have the man bun?
My hair's growing long. It's going to be donated. Last year, I did the same thing. I had it cut on Good Friday. And the hair isn't long enough yet to do that. But that's what I did last year. Donated it to Wigs for Kids. It was just something that I just really wanted to do. I was hearing some stories of some people that were going through some cancer scares. And it's any little way that you can do to help is neat. And I get to be called Jesus sometimes. So it's a win-win situation.
You could be Jesus for the living stations if you do.
No, I know, right? I could pull it off. And then I, have my hair up too when I'm at music practice and stuff like that because it is pretty long and it's more controllable. The
best part was that I don't know if the audience knows this, but I had asked Derek to send me some pictures. Because to advertise for this episode, but also get some listener mail and listener questions for this episode and any questions they wanted to ask Derek. And Derek sent me 4 pictures. And there's this one picture of you, Derek, with the afro. It's almost looking like an afro.
Dude,
I want that back.
We were, because that was in Bakersfield, California, when I was at my wife's family's home. And I don't know, it's that long curly hair with that humidity, man. It poofs it.
That's nice. That's real nice. I like that. Has your kid seen that photo yet of you?
Yeah. Yeah, they've known. I mean, when I cut my hair the one time when my children were younger, they didn't know who I was. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
So it scares them without it sometimes.
Nice.
The second question that she sent is, your whole family smiles all the time. How do you accomplish this? Mm-hmm. Mostly candy and beatings when the children are not doing well, and everyone's a happy family. I don't know. I think we're just really blessed, and I think we enjoy each other, and I don't know. It's a good dynamic. Bethany is a fantastic wife, so she helps keep children in line and makes fantastic dinners, and no complaints really, so I think we're just a really blessed family, and I think we naturally smile. We both have big smiles, so I think that just passed to our children.
Nice.
And then the last one, Mark on Twitter, he sent a picture, and it's Michael Scott, and he's like, why are you the way that you are?
That's awesome.
And that's a great question, and that's one that we're going to be diving into here as my vocation talk.
Yeah. Derek's witness, personal vocation time. I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, so
I've heard a little bit of this before, but excited to get the whole thing.
You'll hear a little bit more. So everybody, you can just sit back, relax. Maybe we'll have some surprises in the talk if you stick around. So I'll just kick off. I was born in Buffalo, New York, and I grew up in Amherst, New York. And my family, when I was born right away, they had a farm. I was born into a farm. I was born in a hospital, but my family lived at a farm. So, and right away, my mom and dad. You were born
in the farm.
I wasn't. See, I'm trying to allude to this Jesus character the whole time. I wasn't born in a manger. I had a pony right away. Its name was Pookie. So right when I was born, they gave me a pony, and and so I was a
Wait, like a stuffed pony or a real pony?
No, like a real pony. It was a miniature.
Very nice.
It was a miniature one, Pookie. And just to complete this whole story of my pony, I grew up with this pony. He was my pony. He was a cute pony. And then my birthday, I don't know, 20-something birthday, my dad gives me a call on my birthday. And he's like, "Hey, Zarek, I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday and just want to let you know that your pony Pookie died." And I was like, Dad,
wow.
What the heck? And he was like, "I just figured you'd want to know." I'm like, "Dad, well, could you not pick a day that was my birthday?" He's like, "Well, I wanted you to know." So that was the full circle of Pookie the pony.
Yeah.
He was a good, loyal pony, and he was the best pony that you can ever want. So that was sad, but it was humorous. That is my dad's humor. Although I just don't know if he understood the situation that my birthday wanted special things. And hearing that my pony died wasn't up there.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, I was a weird kid, John. And thankfully, my mom filmed everything, so now I can look back as an adult and see how demented I was as a child. And I think as a kid, you would label me as ADHD or just deeply disturbed, either one of those. And my mom, like, I would do things, I would like draw, like they had Easter bunny things that we would draw when we were younger, and I would put fangs with blood coming off of them. And then Christmas parties, I would, there's this Christmas concert at our the Catholic school I went to, and I'm in the back there, and my dad is filming this. I get to watch this on VHS. I'm like shooting guns at my dad while I'm behind, while everyone's singing this beautiful Christian song, and I'm like sticking my tongue out, and I'm hiding behind people, and I'm just, angered at my parents. Like, why didn't you stop me or hit me or something? You just let me hang myself up there. And so they're laughing, and I'm laughing, but it was just, I was really quirky like that.
Wow. Yeah. Nice.
And at the house we were living at, I was the oldest. I had 2 brothers there, and we had a couple acres, and I loved the woods. And my mom and dad let us play out there just all the time. It was kind of like how you mentioned too, where you were just not really watched, and they would just let you go.
Yeah,
was
just basically the culture back then. Yeah.
And then because we lived on a farm, I didn't like the normal animals. I like wanted all the weird creatures like tarantulas and ferrets, and I had a snapping turtle. Kids. Yeah, I just like those weird creatures. And then at this school in Amherst, I went to St. Mary's in Swarmville, and it was a love-hate relationship with that school. I hated everything about the school except like little tiny things, like, I don't know, just different stuff. Like I had to wear a uniform there, and I always forgot my belt. I got called into the principal's office so many times. I would be in the bus, and I'd look down at my uniform. I'd be like, I forgot my belt for like the 73rd time, and I'd be called into Sister Sharon's office, and it was always a nightmare. I was terrified of messing up my uniform. But they had window wells near the school, and they had frogs in there. I loved that. And I got to meet 2 of my best friends ever, Ron and Chris. Now, Chris was my really close friend, and he was one that helped introduce me to the holy trinity of being a child, which was Ninja Turtles, Dino Riders, and Calvin and Hobbes.
Nice.
Those 3 things just made my whole childhood. Dino Riders, incredible. Some of our listeners will know Dino Riders. Do you know what they are, John?
Dino Riders. Why does that sound so familiar?
Well, it's like it was a cartoon and a good like toy kind of thing where
I know
it's like
Street Sharks. You ever heard of that one?
Yeah, I remember Street Sharks. Dino Riders, though, it was like these futuristic people, and they got caught in a time warp with the Rulons, and they landed in prehistoric Earth. So they would put all this awesome laser beams and stuff on dinosaurs, and they would fight with these aliens. It was incredible. And then Ninja Turtles, of course, and Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes, I know.
Oh my gosh.
That's like the comic strip, right?
Introduced it. He opened his desk and he's like, look at this comic. I'm like, this is incredible. Mm-hmm. And I could really, relate to Calvin with the just daydreaming that he did. And Chris, he was my closest friend to go to his house. We'd play NES. That was the first time I was introduced to the NES.
Nice.
Bobble or whatever that is, the little creature that would shoot Bust a Move or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was my first sleepover ever, was at his house.
Nice.
I got to watch him feed his homework to his guinea pigs, which was awesome. And then at school, I would daydream basically the whole day, 7 hours a day. I would just sit in my desk. I don't know how I passed. I don't know if my parents paid off the teachers, but I would just daydream about dinosaurs and caves. I would dream about like the most awesome Ninja Turtle weapon, which was all the weapons combined into one weapon.
Did you have the toys? The Ninja Turtle toys?
Yeah.
You probably like all of them.
Oh, my friend had like all the good ones too, so I'd always love going to his house.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But then the stuff that I hated about school, like I had a tough time with bullies, and I'd have anxiety going to school, and I'd start getting migraines and nausea on the bus. I'd come home and I'd be throwing up, and I would have like this anxiety all the time when I would go to school. And it was like I would get picked up on the bus, off the bus. It was just annoying. And then the one day my mom was like tired of all this stuff, and my mom is a good Catholic woman, small, feisty person. And she told me, she was like, Derek, next time they do this to you, I want you to hit the kid. Like punch him. And I was like, what? I was like, Mom, what? So sure enough, we had a throwdown at St. Mary's at recess time outside. I was coming to help one of my friends, and as much as a second grader can throw punches, that was happening. So, and there was another fight on the bus, and it was a little bit scary, but I did feel a lot better after it, and things subsided after that. So once I stood up for myself, and so my mom knew about it ahead of time. So, knowing now, I might have gone at him with a baseball bat. I don't know, just because I'm like, my mom said it was okay. But
yeah, it could have been all in. Like, Mom, you didn't say what to hit him with.
Yeah, well, you got to draw the line, Mom. Yeah. You can't just tell me to go hit someone and not expect me to hit them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, that is part of my mother's teaching as well, like where she is very good Catholic, but it's like,
where are your parents from? I don't know if you mentioned that. Did you mention that?
Yeah, no, they're from New York too. They met at Mean Guys, which was a bar and restaurant, and my dad was a bartender, my mom was a waitress.
Nice.
And that's how they met, and that's history.
Cool.
So
that's cool.
They lived out there. In fourth grade, the farm we lived at was starting to be surrounded by developments and other houses. And it was changing, and animals would break out, and it'd start looking like that movie Jumanji, when they're in the house and animals started being everywhere. Mm-hmm. So like neighbors would call up and they're like, why are there geese in my pool? They have to be yours, or like, why is this horse eating all of my house plants that are outside of my house? Mm-hmm. And then why is this pig sitting on top of my piano? And we'd constantly have to catch like animals all over the place. And at one point, my mom and dad were like, let's do it. We're moving. So we ended up moving to the country, a good old town called Forestville, New York. From the window, you can see Lake Erie. We had...
Oh, cool. Dang, that's like West New York, huh?
Yeah. It's like, really Western New York. And we were technically, I think, Canadians because we didn't have cable or anything. We would just get antenna feed. And Sesame Street was a polar bear.
Was it all in French?
Some of it. We were learning a lot of French.
Man, that's funny.
Yes. We. And it was weird to have like all these Canadian stations. Mr. Dress Up was a big show, and we grew up with and very polite Canadian stations. We'd watch hockey all the time, but we had silos and barns and stuff like that. And when we were there, my mom decided to try homeschooling because we were moving in the middle of like the school year, and I was so excited for this because I was like, there's no school, there's no fight, there's no anxiety, like no social problems. Mm-hmm. I don't have to have any of it. And my brothers, at this point, our family on this farm, we ended up, there's like 5 of us. So it's me, my brother Nathan, my brother John, my brother Kevin, and my sister Stephanie. And we would just play outside all the time. And we lived out there. We played paintball. We would run into the fence where the cows were and the bulls were, and we'd like let them chase us, and we'd dive under the fence just so we don't get killed.
Oh my gosh. How old were you?
We were, I don't know, young. We did stupid stuff out in the country. We'd shoot arrows up in the air, and you try to stay there as long as you can until you moved. It was like a chicken game.
Yeah. I've seen
stupid stuff.
Did you guys have BB guns or?
Yeah, we had BB guns, arrows, and stuff like that. We did jousting on our ponies, another thing, which was kind of cool.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, we'd have like wiffle ball bats, and we'd pretend we were like knights, and we'd fight. And our horses were really good. We had a business called Party Ponies. Uh-huh. My family helped pay the bills for the animals. We had 14 horses and ponies at this point.
Wow.
And we would pay the bills by doing Party Ponies. And
they would go to different parties.
Yeah, like kids' birthday party. We'd be lucky enough to get paid sometimes to go to Toys R Us. But walking horses, man, we'd shovel up poop. And that was not good for like a homeschooler that was kind of like, had trouble with anxiety things in the first place. So we'd be like, shoveling up poop, like, oh, this is really good. It's hard to impress the women when you're just you're like the poop pony boy, it's just
right.
Terrible. But also at this community where we're at in Forestville, we had a tiny church called St. Rosalima, beautiful church, but it was so little, John. It was like a house, and there was 10 pews on each side. And my mom made us do, altar serving and lecturing. So that was a good formation for my brothers and I of how to be, I don't know, fully involved with church stuff. During Lent, though, we'd serve daily mass. I mentioned that, I think, on the Lenten one. We'd have to serve every day because we were homeschooled. We didn't have anything better to do. So we'd be serving and helping out with mass.
Like the morning mass, like the morning daily mass.
Yeah. And we use a Seton homeschooling program with the homeschooling stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah, and it was like, different history books. Warren Carroll wrote a bunch, and we had to do just all different stuff: algebra, sciences, Spanish, all these things. I hated it. I was like, I can't. You had to write up these papers and send them in and get graded, and it was just like. But you had to be very self-sufficient, and you had to be motivated to do stuff. And there was summers that we'd have to work through and do homework during the summer. And around this point, when we were like homeschooling, we were just at home. We weren't involved with any groups or anything other than just using the Seton curriculum. Things changed around when I was 15. And I was informed that friend, Chris, who all that stuff, first sleepover, playing NES, all that stuff. Right. He had died in a car accident on a vacation trip, and his uncle and his cousin died. A semi hit the vehicle, and I was in shock.
Yeah.
So I got to go back to the funeral and at the school where I was, and I got to see so many of the bullies that I had, had to deal with at school, and seeing them cry, I was crying. It gave them so much humanity for me, and I remember so clearly at that point, I forgave them. Because it was like they changed, and I just didn't hold that against them. It was like totally forgiven.
At this point, you were still holding a little bit of a grudge.
Yeah, like it was just like, social things. Like I was like, I didn't like school. There was like that anxiety feel about it, and I would have my headaches. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, man, people changed, and this is like this situation. Like I have to just let this go. And I felt so great, after that point. It really bothered me for a while about Chris going. It was just such a surprise, and it helped me each day, like, really start thinking, like, man, he was like 15 years old. Like, I could die at any minute then, and it was a good lesson of mortality at this point for me. And it was shortly after that my mom got us into homeschooling, a homeschooling group called Children of Mary Homeschoolers and Soldiers of Christ. Soldiers of Christ were like the high school group. And when my mom said, like, we're going to be part of this group, we're going to do some like class stuff with them, we're going to go on trips with these. And I did not like it at first. I'm like, I'm over that. I'm let's just play outside the whole time and just live out in the woods. And I grew to love that group, John, like so much.
Nice.
It was awesome. We would meet weekly. We do all these different things. We had the Soldiers of Christ, you'd have presidents there, to help lead the group and decide what we're going to be doing. And, we would do things like going and singing in nursing homes. We were like very involved with a lot of things, trips that we would take. And it helped me grow in my faith. And it got me involved with a good group of teens my age. So shortly after that, I went to a youth convention, like a retreat thing. It was like a Youth 2000. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Sounds familiar.
It was so crucial for my faith journey. Mm-hmm. I had an incredible encounter with the Eucharist, like with Christ, during exposition and adoration thing. And they came.
How old were you at this point?
I was about 16.
Okay, cool.
And they brought Jesus out, and they had the procession, and it was one of those things where I was just going there to just because my friends were at this point, and this is when I started being like actively thinking about my faith and seeing how beautiful it is and how awesome the sacrament of confession was. And it was that time where the Blessed Sacrament was going around. I had some friends with me, and they were like these cool jock guys that were really athletic, and they were crying. I was like, what is going on? And then when the Blessed Sacrament came to me, I just felt like this, like, just love and like forgiveness for my sins. And I started crying, and I was crying so hard. I lost track of time, and I woke up
I've been there,
to some of these people just rubbing back like, dude, it's okay. Jesus loves you. And I was like, what is going on in my life? This is crazy. And it was there to, where I was introduced to like praise and worship music. And cause I don't know. My mom wanted us to get us involved in instruments and stuff like that. And this was like the first time where I was like, the music really like drew me to get closer to Christ. I got my guitar. I'm going to play a song right now. All right.
Oh,
I'll just play part of it. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, hey, a live music thing. So this is the song that really like made me want to get into that. So it's Lord, I Lift Your Name on High. I'll just do the verse and chorus thing. So yeah, it's classic. So this is one that got me in it. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us, to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay. From the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. So it was like at that point, hey man,
very good, man, very good. That's like a classic. That's a classic.
Oh man, it was like an oldie. And then like, you know, other ones like Awesome God and stuff like that. I just was like, I want to learn how to do that. And I couldn't sing at that point. I never really tried it at all.
Yeah.
And I started learning, and it got me further involved with a group called Parable Players that Father Ted had at the Basilica near Orchard Park, which is in New York. And it was like a traveling acting comedy singing group thing that did Godspell songs and did fun skits and stuff. And I started off like, you know, you go auditioning, and it was just a traveling like vaudeville group. It was so cool. Like I would juggle, and I started learning how to sing, and I really enjoyed like the camaraderie of the other teens that were involved. Like it was a summer. We just spent a summer traveling to different parishes and doing this kind of traveling show. And I love just the camaraderie of it and like the traveling aspect. So that was like a big
traveling.
part.
Where did you guys travel at? Like,
it was just all
just
in
go
New
different
York.
Parishes and
Yeah,
stuff like that,
different
or?
parishes. With some different homes, like nursing homes and some other facilities that there would be like audiences that would schedule. So it was cool to be a part of like a touring gig, you know, it was fun. And just learned a lot about performing, and it helped me start to grow. And then in our homeschooling group, it was the thing to do. You get a girlfriend. That was like the thing. So our homeschooling group, we weren't technically, it wasn't my girlfriend because she wasn't allowed to date till she was 18. And as a parent now, I really appreciate that rule.
Yeah, sounds right.
It would have saved me, you know, a lot of time, and her like a lot of time. But we would go on group dates with the homeschooling group and stuff like that, you know, and she was really great, and we had just a good group of friends that would, you know, go around and do stuff. So she was like, we would always have that phrase, like, you weren't dating, but you were like, it was your quasi dating. And that really helped my decision to go to college, because at this point I had visited Christendom College in Virginia with my really great friend, Rick Sadowski. And, you know, he was in the homeschooling group. He was getting me into listening to just different things like Tom Petty, Led Zeppelin, you know, all these things. And I learned a lot of guitar stuff from him. And we visited Christendom College, and I was like, oh, this is a great school. It's a student body of about 450 people. It was right next to the Shenandoah River. It was beautiful. And I really wanted to go there. And the thing, you know, my girlfriend at the time was going to be going there too. So it was like an easy decision for me. My dad wanted me to go to Fredonia State University, which I would commute from home. I would save a lot of money, but I wanted to go away after being homeschooled for a long time. I wanted to, you know, get away.
Right.
So that's what I ended up doing. And I'll tell you, I loved college there. It was just so beautiful. It was incredible. And being homeschooled, I just got involved with everything I could that was available to me. I was on the soccer team, so we'd run early in the morning. I was part of the theater group that did Fiddler on the Roof. I ran and I won the freshman class presidency at Christendom College, and it basically made me a slave to all the upperclassmen for the whole year. But I loved dorming with my roommates, you know, the friends, the pranks that we did at the school. We had, you know, my trips to the dean's office because of the pranks, and just in Virginia.
Tell me one prank. Tell the listeners one prank you guys did.
One prank that we did was the one night for classes. We had a big group get together, and we had a kind of auditions where we're like, look, we're going to do this thing, but we need you to be committed. And a lot of people dropped out after they heard what we were going to do. But we basically, we used some school vans, and it was going to be a beautiful day the next day.
Yeah.
And we just shift a couple of the classrooms around. All of the classrooms were brought outside, and it was a beautiful day, and we were able to move everything at night with like everyone sleeping, and it was I thought pretty awesome because we were up all night. I had a history test the next day. We were up all night. We moved everything to the soccer field, to the tennis courts. Every classroom that we had, we got into the commons and we emptied every single classroom, and everything was sitting outside.
Oh my gosh.
So I had my video camera with me. We were up till like the birds were chirping. We went out for breakfast that morning. We kind of reflected on what we did, and we went back to the school and we parked like across the street, and I was filming the reaction when people came out early in the morning to not know where their classes were and to see stuff out. And it was incredible. It was worth it to see the response.
So
one of our people though ratted us out, and we got caught, and we had to do a lot of campus work to pay it off. But it was really incredible. It was really fun. We had a good team. It felt like an Ocean's 11 thing.
That's cool.
Everyone had
That's
a
so
certain
cool.
job and
That's
specific
funny.
thing. So the college, I loved everything about it. The spirituality,
Christendom, first of all.
Yeah,
pretty hardcore Catholic
it
university.
was. And it was just, there was just so much. It was amazing. So after freshman year, I had realized that I could only be there and afford to be there for one more year. I wanted to get all the Catholic theology classes I could at this time. And I would finish up my last 2 years at a New York SUNY school, which is like a state-funded one that was right near my house, so I would commute from home. And for that sophomore year coming up, I started thinking about what I was doing for the first time. And I was like, where am I going? And I started thinking about my girlfriend. She was my girlfriend at that time then, and how that relationship would be different once I went to different schools and she stayed there. And I was like, I had an epiphany. And the main question was, what was the purpose of our relationship? Was she the one? And I was like, am I happy? That was another thing. It's like, if I'm dating right now and we go a distance apart and we're going to keep that relationship, we're going to hurt possible future friendships with the schools that we're going to, or staying at. And so we had some eye-opening conversations, and it was apparent to me once we had this one talk that I had to break up, and I couldn't waste any more time. It was just so on my heart, like, this needs to stop. And it was early on in the year. So it was early on sophomore year. And I remember specifically, we broke up between geometry class and history class. We were crisscrossing, and it was right. And it was just one of those moments where it's like, it all came up and it had to end there. So my roommates, Nate and Chris, shout out to them. They fantastic roommates. We had a big discussion then afterwards about the intent of our relationships.
Right.
And if we see a future spouse with the person that we're with. And it was such an amazing conversation that it started a breakup epidemic of sophomore year where everyone broke up, and it really focused. And it's really interesting because the next people that they really met, they were the people that they ended up marrying.
Nice.
So it was like everyone kind of just really had to take a look at what was going on and their relationships. There was like an intent to it, and everyone really stayed true to that, and it was really cool. And then at that point, my life was different. I was free. We could do like playing Halo, watching like old school stuff. We were free, a bit lonely, but things were so low maintenance. Where you're the only one involved, it's very low maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a different feeling because I had been in a quasi relationship for quite a few years at that point. So it was kind of cool to be by yourself, and I was like, I'm just going to enjoy being single and enjoying my last year with my friends at Christendom.
Let me back up just 1 second, just so I don't know if the listeners are a little bit confused, or I'm confused. So you're in this quasi relationship for the longest time, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get to college, that's when you guys start dating?
Well,
or was it still kind of like,
so coming
we're kind of dating, we're kind of, it's not official.
Yeah. So we started dating when she turned 18. And so that's when, it was official. So we stayed together. So we transitioned over to school. We were dating. And then it just got to the point where it was like, what is the point of this?
And so
when you started looking.
Yeah. So basically, like, what happened was, like, you basically I guess, discern that she wasn't the one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And the intent wasn't there either. So
exactly. Because at the point when I was in high school, when you're in high school, you're thinking about like, well, I need to look cool, and I hopefully can get a girlfriend that's nice.
Right. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
That's nice and hopefully likes me, and without thinking of like, this could be the possible person I'm going to marry, or this could be someone's future spouse.
You don't ever think that. Yeah.
No, it's not.
When you're in high school. Yeah.
Exactly. So at college, that sophomore year, I started thinking that. Now, the fateful day is, I don't know, a week or two afterwards. I was sitting outside of the common area, and we were going to be going back and playing Halo and stuff like that. And I was just sitting there. I was just kind of reflecting. I'm like, man, my year is going to be, like this is my last year. What am I going to do now? Like this free time, am I just going to play video games? What's going to happen? And
the answer is yes. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the answer is always yes to Halo. A group of people were passing by, and there were people that I didn't really know. Like some of them were like like freshmen and like this. And this one girl asked like, hey, we're going to go play some praise and worship music. Do you want to join us? And I was just sat there. I'm like, man, I remember when I really liked doing that praise and worship music. Like, I was like, you know what? Like Halo will wait for a while. Master Chief can wait for a little bit.
Right.
And I was like, I'll head over with there. So we went over to this music room where there was a piano, and we had a bunch of people. We had guitars going, and we were just kind of just doing some praise and worship stuff. And it was great because it was refreshing. I was like, oh yeah, I love this stuff. This is really good.
That's the funny part. Oh, sorry to interrupt you again. No. I was just thinking like, this happened at your university, and then I forgot you went to Christendom.
Well, and
like just random person. Hey, do you want to play praise and worship music?
Well, that's the funny thing too, because Christendom, like they said, my personality was more of a Steubenville kind of personality.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Christendom is a very reserved, like Gregorian chant, kind of thing. So praise and worship was
traditional Orthodox.
Exactly, and praise and worship is a little bit out there, and I understand the viewpoint. So.
I'm all for both. I'm all for both.
No, exactly. There's a beauty in both, you know?
There is.
As long as they bring you into a deeper relationship with Christ, I think they're very strong either way. And so there was this one song that the girl wanted to sing, but no one knew it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of know it. And what's interesting, too, is this is the same for music people out there. It's the same 1-4-5 chord progression that Lord, I Lift Your Name is. So I was like, oh, so do you want to sing it? Okay, so here we're gonna sing the song. Here.
Hey, special guest appearance.
Yeah,
so Bethany Rogers, everyone.
We'll do the verse and then the chorus thing. But this was I think it's called Holiness. I think that's what it is. Holiness is what I long for. Holiness is what I need. Holiness, holiness is what you want from me. So take my heart and form it. Take my mind, transform it. Take my will, conform it to yours, oh Lord. To yours, oh Lord. So we played that. Thank you. We played that song, and it was like one by one, people started leaving. We were talking, playing some more music, and then this girl and I were just staying in the music room talking about our families, like we've known each other for years.
Nice.
And found out her name was Bethany, and
there
she's
you
from
go.
I found out she's from California, and at that moment, I'm like, oh man, that's...
Where's she at now? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, California, wow. And so her family, there was a lot of similarities with hers and mine, and we just were talking, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, curfew's coming up. And as a gentleman, you want to walk them back because it's nice. guy side, girl side.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'll walk you back. And we opened the door from that music room, and it was pouring rain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a good little walk to the girls' dorm. And so I just sent her by herself. I was like, just get out of here and go walk yourself. I'm gonna stay dry. No.
Yeah.
We had one umbrella and we had one guitar and we had two people. So we're like, how are we gonna do this? So being the musicians that we were, we made sure that the guitar was completely dry, and that was in between us, underneath the umbrella. And half of her was getting soaking wet by the rain on the left side, and I was on the right side. And we were walking back, and we were talking about like, oh, we're gonna be like laughing about this later when we're old and our dentures and all this stuff. We were talking
together
about
or not together, or just like
no, together, like out loud. It was so weird.
Oh, and whoa. Yeah.
We were just like, it was like we had known each other. We were just so comfortable. So dropped her off at the girls' dorm, and I was like in the rain. I'm just standing there. I'm like, what just happened? And I was completely, knocked off my socks, smitten. You can say falling in love, whatever you want. So I went back to the guys' dorm, and they were like, dude, what happened? We could see it in your eyes. What happened? And then I was just, in La La Land. And so sophomore year was the best year of my life, honestly. If I could go back for 1 year of my life, it would be that year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Things started falling into place. Bethany and I, we read this list of things to know about your future spouse and where the priorities were. So this is like early on in our relationship. We would go on these walks, and we read this little handbook thing of like things that you should know about your possible future spouse.
Wait, so after that, you guys would just hang out and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
at school, cool. We would be just like, we just talk and hang out with some of our friends and stuff like that.
When you met each other, was it towards the beginning of sophomore year? Or?
Yeah, it was the beginning of sophomore year.
And she was a freshman, I guess?
Yeah, she was a freshman. So we, this list was like, what kind of furniture do you want? Do you want name brand furniture when you're married and stuff? And it was good to know these specific things because I was able to be like, yeah, I could be happy with this person because they have the same viewpoint. So we were talking seriously about our relationships, very focused early on. And we were going to be performing at this college coffee house thing. And I was like, I need to just ask her dad if I can officially date her,
Oh,
so
that's awesome. Yeah.
I was like, right before we were going to perform, I went up to, and this is back in the day when you had to have the actual phones where you picked up and called. We didn't have cell phones at this point.
You couldn't text message.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
Emoji.
So I wanted to call him up in person. I'd never talked to him before. So I called up the house.
No way.
I called up the house in California, and I'm like, Mr. Zuniga, the last name was Zuniga. I'm like, you haven't heard from me, but I'm sure, Bethany's talked about me. And, I just wanted to get your permission because I know you're all the way out there and you need to trust me. I was wondering if I could date your daughter. And, of course I'm like, this is so good because he's going to say yes. I mean, what young person asked just to date, and he was quiet after I had asked that question, like, can I date your daughter? And he was quiet and he was like, Derek, I appreciate you calling me. I'm going to talk this over with my wife and we'll let you know on Sunday. It was a Friday. And we'll let you know on Sunday our answer. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, my gut, I was like, oh my gosh. So we went and we performed and I didn't know, but then on a Sunday he called back and he's like, Derek, we thought about it and we would, we think it'd be great if you dated, Bethany.
That's awesome.
And so I was like, okay, cool.
That's awesome.
And so the process was really great because we didn't waste time knowing if this person was the one. It was like intentional. Like everything you're doing is like, because we were at limited time, we had to find out. And so Bethany told me one time we were standing by the Shenandoah River early on in our relationship. And she's like, you know what? You and I are going to be doing youth ministry together. That was her thing. And I was like, what youth ministry? I'm not even, what are you talking about? And as we finished up that year, I had finished up at Christendom and Bethany stayed one more year when I went to New York. So New York, I was trying to finish my major. I was trying to get done in time because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to marry this girl. So she went back home to live in California with her family. She was going to get a certificate in training for being a pharmaceutical rep. And she was working on that. And
is it after college?
This is like during college. So she stayed one more year. And I'm like, I need to finish in 4 years. So I started off my junior year at this Fredonia College up in New York. I started as a theater major. And right away, I'm like, these guys' lifestyle is not matching with mine. What am I doing? So I switched to a music major. And I'm like, music majors are for smart people. And I'm like, this is not for me. You have to be so like mathematical about it. Yeah.
All that jazz.
And it was starting to hurt how much I loved music. So I was like, okay, that's 2 down. I'm like, I am way behind. I need to finish, on time. And I was really interested in psychology and I started looking at some of the classes and I'm like, dude, this is this is awesome. I love psychology. So I ended up being a psychology major with a minor in music. And we, that's what happened. So as soon as I graduated, we got married. So I graduated in May. We got married in June. And the thing though, at the end of, right before we got married, we started a band. Grace, hey Bethany.
Nice.
We started a band called Grace Led. We couldn't figure out the name of it, and Bethany's middle name was Grace, and Derek means leader of men. And we were like, "What about Led by Grace?" And we were like, "Oh, that's like an album." And then we were like, "Well, what about Grace? What about Grace Led? Like not a red or a blue sled, but a gray sled." And so we're like, "Oh, we're gonna do that." So we wrote like a bunch of songs together. And do you want to do this? We'll do them.
Oh, sweet. Yes.
So I guess probably the final song we'll sing. It's "Wind Blows By." It was like one of the first songs that we wrote together, and we weren't married at the time for the song, but it kind of leads the way for like a lot of what our family stuff was. So, this song won some awards at county fairs. We were traveling around doing county fair stuff and state fair stuff with this song. So this is just part of "Wind Blows By." That was Blaze, also with some background vocals. It's really funny to sing songs with about a little boy, and when we didn't have a little boy at the time, but now we do. So
that's awesome.
It's really cool.
That's awesome.
My junior year of college, because I kind of jumped ahead. My junior year of college, I knew that Bethany was going to be on, so I got her a ring, and I wanted to propose to her at christening before she moved back to California.
Oh, nice.
And so I got the ring, but then I was back at that dilemma where I'm like, I need to ask her father.
Oh, here we go.
California. And it was on my mind like a lot, and the one night it was like, I had told my mom and dad about, what I was doing, and they were supportive of it. They were just like, well, make sure it's what you really want to do, and be sure about it. So the one night, John, I had this dream, and I was on Endor, Star Wars Endor.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was with a bunch of stormtroopers, and we were running around, and I was like, I need to find Bethany's dad. And I'm looking, and I can't tell which stormtrooper was him. And I kept running around looking, and I was like, which one is he? And then I saw he just ran, and I never found him. And I told my mom about it the next morning, and she was like, "You play too much video games."
What does this mean?
So that next day, I went to school, and I was thinking about, I'm like, man, he's in California and I'm in New York. I don't know how this is going to happen. And time is getting, short. So I came home and I walked into our kitchen, and behold, there sat the man.
What?
Her dad was sitting in my kitchen.
Why?
In New York. I was like, what's going on? And I was completely caught off guard. And then he looked to me. I felt this was a dream. I thought it was. It's not a dream. He looked at me. He's like, so I heard there's something you wanted to ask me. I'm like, what is going on?
Wait. So time out. He didn't know.
He didn't know.
And then he's in California, or so you think.
He had, I think what he had is, he was a postal worker, and he had some kind of convention up in New York, and he was swinging by, and he loves taking trips. He's done
How long have you guys been dating at this point?
We were dating for about a year at this point.
Okay.
And he showed up, right? And
oh my gosh.
My mom, of course, brings out the camera like she always does, and I'm just an idiot. I'm just like, well, I'll tell you about the dream I had, and then I'm just going on. And so my mom is filming. I'm just like a blabbering idiot.
Oh my god! Do you still have this on film?
Yeah, my mom has it.
We have to
and
watch
she's
this
like, she's like, well, what did you want to say? And I'm like, Mr. Zuniga, can I get your permission to marry your daughter? And he's like, yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. So
That's
I was
awesome.
like, I felt like completely thrown off, but I was like excited that I actually asked him in person. You know, it was God's timing was
That's
so
really
awesome.
cool. That's really cool.
You know, I ended up proposing to Bethany on the bridge where we had one of our first serious talks. I don't know, maybe like a month or two after.
Okay.
So I proposed on the bridge where we had one of our talks.
Did you have the ring the whole
at
time?
Christendom. Yep, had the whole time.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing burns a hole in your pocket.
Oh, it
man.
really does. I remember carrying it almost everywhere we went. Not because not because I could just propose to her at any minute, but just to keep it like with me and, you know, as a reminder and just to keep it safe. And I remember just like feeling like it's like Frodo at the end of Return of the Kings. Or Return of the King. It's like he's at what's that last place called?
Mount Doom.
And he's going up the secret passage or whatever, the secret, and he's like, I can feel it in my heart, you know? I can feel the heaviness of this ring.
Yeah. And then that's when the fiance bites her finger off and falls into the lava, right?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Proposed there. It was the ideal way to close that whole circle of, you know, of meeting her and everything like that. So, graduated. We got married the next month after I graduated.
So did she move to New York? Or?
So the cool thing was she went back to California for a year, and then her sister's husband was transferred to Buffalo, New York. He was in the Navy. So she stayed in New York, which was close to me, at her sister's house while we prepared for the wedding and stuff. It was like another God incident, you know, where it's it was fantastic. So cool. And then other cool thing is, earlier on, when we moved to Forestville, my mom accidentally bought an old hotel, an 1850s hotel in Forestville. She was the only person to bid on this hotel, and you know, she surprised my dad with that person.
Bought a hotel?
An old.
How much did she buy it for?
It was nice and cheap, actually. It was crazy the price she got it because she was the only one to bid for it.
Was there a reason?
My dad, she came in, we were eating breakfast, and she came in running into our farmhouse, and she's like, she runs in, she had to grab something, and my dad's in the bathroom, and she's like, just, you know, I just bought the Lower Hotel, okay, bye. And she ran back out, and my dad is like, you know, we're eating cereal, my dad's in the bathroom, he's like, what? So this place is awesome, John.
That's cool.
You know, someday it would be awesome to see it. It's like this huge dance floor, there's a stage, there's a pool room, there's
This is before you're married or after you're married?
This is before we were married, but it ended up being the place that my parents let us live while we were just starting out.
Did you guys have your reception and everything there or no?
No, we didn't. Okay. We had it at St. John Bosco in Sheridan, New York.
Okay.
But anyways, this hotel, John, is so awesome. I'm sure like later on in our Bad Catholic Dad podcast, so you'll hear more about some adventures at this hotel.
Yeah.
But this place, it was an amazing old hotel. And my family allowed us to, like, as long as we renovated this one part that was unfinished, we could stay there. It was kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. So we put in carpeting, we painted. It was like such a cool thing to prepare for marriage, to get our own place ready.
That's cool.
It was awesome. Definitely like a really great highlight of our, early married life. And then Bethany and I, we played music together and we toured around as Grace led. We'd go to different parishes. I'd give talks. I'd be a worship leader for things. And
awesome.
we did this really nice recording of all of our original songs with our band and everything. We recorded it. It's called Secondhand Roses. You can actually check it out on YouTube for free. Go ahead and listen to it.
We'll link it.
Yeah. And we started a youth ministry group at our tiny church, St. Rosalima. We did tons of fun stuff with them. It was great because they would come to the old hotel and we'd have the events there. It was really cool. We weren't paid. It was just volunteer work, but we loved it. And, that was our dream, right? And my wife said like, hey, we're going to do youth ministry together someday. Yeah. I was like, sure enough, we were doing it.
Yeah. Still doing it, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of ahead, but that's
my
pretty
job.
Cool.
Ranged from like I worked at Caves, which was Forestville's deli, video store, grocery store, gas station. Like I worked there. I was at the front counter, and I got to deal with all the people of Forestville, and it was one of my favorite jobs just because it was just like it was fun. You know, you'd work in the beer cooler and do the stuff. I got to work as a pre-K teacher. I worked a lot with kids with special needs, but I couldn't find something that just felt right for me. You know, I couldn't find any great jobs in New York, and I was always thinking like, what is the next step for me? What am I going to do? And then there was an evening that had big implications for my family, specifically for my mom and dad. And it was just a rough evening that we had. And the next morning, a friend on Facebook just sent us a message and just said like, hey, there's a possible job in youth ministry in Virginia. And the opportunity, it was like, are you kidding me? And you know, we heard that you're getting paid and stuff. And I was like, this opportunity is too good to pass up. And that day was just unbelievable because my issues with my family were solved. My mom and dad, like things had worked out, and it was like this job opportunity came up like all on the same day, and we were like, let's just go because it feels like God is sending us there. And we worked together at St. Andrew the Apostle in Clifton, Virginia. And then I got interviewed and hired as a director of youth ministry at another church, Our Lady of Good Counsel in Vienna. And so we both have youth ministry jobs that are on different days. We're really blessed. The priests allowed us to like work on this and do this. And we've been so blessed. Every day we are so thankful for our jobs and our home that we have here in Manassas, and just the churches working together. Like I would have never thought that right now in this part of my life is like I would be doing youth ministry as a job, and my wife would be. You know, we'd be at different churches, but we'd be like sharing ideas and working through it. So it's been an incredible blessing. Our children came first year being in Virginia. Kateri, the thoughtful and sensitive child that she is, and then Avila, the cute and destructive child with a tendency for evil, was second.
Right.
And then we have Blaze, who is our simple child who loves music. And then, you know, we're expecting our fourth, whatever it's going to be. We don't know gender right now.
You just have names. Obviously, don't share the names on the podcast.
Yeah, we have some. We're kind of going back and forth though, and for us, like especially because we don't find out the gender of the baby, it's like always like a toss up. Like on, you know.
By the way, listeners, they've done this for every baby. They don't know the gender right until the moment.
And we always have the envelopes too of what it is, but we never open them. We always leave it near our mirror because we ask them to find out, but we don't look. And we just think like maybe there's gonna be a day when we're like, you know what, let's just find out.
Envelopes inside?
No, we would look.
What if it's
after
wrong?
Baby.
What if it's like
that was the refund? Like because you know. We would always be like, I always wanted a boy, so the first two were girls, and we finally got the boy. I was so excited. Right. But we'd always open up the envelope afterwards and like, okay, they were right. And if they're wrong, I don't know if we get to trade in for, I don't know what the ruling is on that.
Yeah, some kind of refund process.
Something. So we have this one for the baby. It hasn't been opened yet either, but we always open up after the baby just to see if they're right and everything like that. So
nice.
And like, I just in closing, like, you know, I seen God throughout my whole life coming up to that where I didn't know exactly what the next step was going to be for me, but I've seen God using the desires of my heart to accomplish his will in my life. So like everything with music, with just having fun adventures in Virginia, like, and God was preparing my heart to meet Bethany, you know, and I'm always willing and I'm always trying to stay open to what God has planned for me next. And I am so blessed to have Bethany being the anchor of my life and helping me steer when I'm unsure of myself or my talents. You know, she's always there as a bedrock, as someone who just stands behind me and just says, yeah, you can do it. You're totally able to do this. And again, like just being blessed with healthy children, great friends in this area, you included, John.
Thank you.
You know, just, you know, help me live out my faith. Amazing family from New York and California, like just super blessed. So, I mean, my life has been filled with, you know, this is just like yours too, a brief summary of stuff, but I'm always like looking for what God has next. With this podcast, it's just fun to share in some of this journey and adventure and seeing what God has in store for us next.
Yeah.
So, but that's my story. Thanks everyone for listening and hanging in there.
So awesome.
And
I love live music. That's such a, I've never heard a talk given like live music in like as interstitials. That's so cool.
Yeah, she was.
Is that your idea or her idea?
No, I kind of want to do it. I was like, "Do you want to do it?" And she's like, "Yeah." So
that's cool.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll turn out on the thing. We'll see. But yeah,
it's so awesome to hear your story again. Like I heard it like before, not as detailed as this one. It's not as faith filled as this one.
Yeah.
Like I knew you lived on a farm and I knew you grew up and like homeschooling and stuff like that. but again, like it's like you said, like there are a lot of moments in our lives where we just see, like we look back on our lives and we're like,
Yeah.
wow, like God had a hand in that, you know?
Well, absolutely. I mean, even with my mother, like I did not want to altar serve. I didn't want to be part of this homeschooling group. You know, I didn't want this. I didn't want that. And it was like listening to my parents was very good. You know, my parents did know what was going on and they helped form me. And I wish I was more willing at that point, and hopefully I can help my children like transition better than, you know, I did.
Yeah,
Hopefully
I was actually thinking about that the other day. Like, I remember being so young and being like, I don't want to listen to my parents. Like, why do I have to listen to them? And now that I'm a parent, I'm like, I hope my kids listen to me, you know, in terms of like, our parents had so much knowledge and so much experience, like, because they're our parents, that I couldn't even imagine not, you know, following in their footsteps now, you know?
Absolutely. And then I mean, I look at my brothers too, and they're all still practicing Catholics, you know, and, you know, I have fantastic siblings. My sister too, like everyone is still working at being Catholic, you know, and still going to church. And my parents, as much as they feel like they might have messed up at times and were like bad kids, we're working at it, you know, and definitely my parents' fingerprints are on everything of our lives. And I'm really grateful to this day. You know, I see that. And as being you and I being young parents, like hopefully we can use that great example that our parents had. And like, we got to instill this into our children and take the things that worked and was successful and really apply that to our kids growing up.
Right.
So, man, that's
great.
That's it.
Thank you for sharing. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you. So, hey, do you want to do some shout outs?
Yeah, let's do some shout-outs. Do you have any shout-outs you want to do?
I think for you and I both, to our parents and whoever's been listening so far. I know Mark, who sent the office picture, I think he's listened to every one so far. So, you know,
that's cool.
As he has.
Guy. This ain't the sushi guy.
No, yeah, this is the sushi guy.
This is the sushi guy?
Yeah, this is the sushi guy.
What's up, sushi guy? No, I'm kidding. How's it going, Mark?
Yeah, he has
listening.
a bunch of podcasts. I'm really glad that he listens to ours.
Do you listen to a lot of podcasts, so you said?
Yeah, he has his commute and he listens to a bunch of good ones. He's told me about all the different ones. He's a really good guy.
That's great. Well, thank you for listening and taking time out of your day, and to everyone who listens. I mean, it's a humbling thing, like knowing that someone's listening to you. You know, because honestly, if no one listened to us, then it would just mean you talking and getting this. That's fine. It's great. Yeah. But to have people listen to us is really
well,
great.
Exactly. And it's so fun to start out like this. You know, like my mother-in-law in California, she was telling my wife, she's like, I saw on the YouTube channel that they only had like, I don't know how many listens it was, but she's like, you know, like, are they okay? And it's like, I was like laughing. I'm like, well, that's how it starts out, you know, where it's like you have the people listening that need to be listening, and you just kind of build on it.
It's more on the podcast, like. I was looking at our numbers the other day on SoundCloud. I'm not bragging, obviously, but like doing all right, you know, almost at 100 for one episode, 100 listens or downloads. Awesome. Yeah. But you know, I think it's been great. I mean,
well, and it's great to have this evolution because not every Bad Catholic Dads podcast is going to be our story. Yeah. You know, it's like we're going to be talking about the things coming up. Like today was Palm Sunday, and and yeah. So what shout outs do you have?
I want to shout out In This Sign Venny from Reddit. You know Reddit, Derek?
Yep.
Obviously.
Love Reddit.
Love Reddit. I went to the Catholic Reddit. Just mini story, sorry. I love to tell stories. And if you know me on this podcast by now, you know I'm going to tell a lot of stories. A couple weeks ago, when we launched, I posted on the Catholic subreddit. So Reddit is like basically one of the biggest forums in the entire world. Yeah. And there's a Catholic subreddit, so it's specific to just Catholicism. And I posted our podcast on there. And I got a couple likes, like probably like 13 or 14 upvotes, which is basically like likes on Reddit. And then a couple weeks later, my brother, shout out to my brother Jarl. I don't know if he listens to the show, but I love the kid. He's my youngest brother. He's the baby of the family. He shared our podcast on Reddit, on the Catholic subreddit, without me even knowing.
Without prompting.
And it was a really cool and awesome moment because he was like, hey, check this out. I just posted your podcast on Reddit. And I looked at it, and he said it was one of the top posts of the day. Oh. Like almost 30, 40, almost, I think 30, or I don't know how many it is now, but it was like almost 30 when I checked it like last week. upvotes, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's always humbling to hear.
Yeah,
that's
it was really cool.
Awesome.
Really cool. And then in this signed Venny is one of the guys or gals, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's a guy. Who commented and was like, "Hey, great podcast! Like, I'm into it. Keep it up, and I'll keep listening." So shout out to he told me not to shout him out on the podcast, but I definitely wanted to.
Nice.
So and then I wanted to shout out a friend of mine, Jim Albanese. Please pray for him. If you don't know his story, he's a Catholic father, really into the faith. I know his family very well. From Youth Apostles, the youth ministry group I used to be in. And he's not doing well. He's battling a sickness, and he just told his family he has months to live now. And so please pray for him. I think those are all the
I think he goes to All Saints Church right out here in Manassas.
Yeah.
And I think a prayer shout out too is for like the Coptic Church today for Palm Sunday with the bombings.
Oh yeah. I mean
that is so sad to we're really blessed to live in a place where we can go to mass, and not worry.
Exactly.
So hearts go out to the families for there and Syria too. Like prayer shout outs, So hopefully
Syria in general, just to end to violence and civil war that's going on in Syria.
Yeah.
So terrible with all. Do you see all those children? Like, man,
yeah, exactly. As a dad, I mean, yeah. It's a good reminder, a good wake up call.
Yeah.
Love the people that you're with, love your children, and hug them.
Definitely. Shout out to my friend Vania. She's the friend who came over today to help my wife watch our kids because my wife cannot handle 2 kids right now at once.
It's tough early on.
But she also supported us on Patreon, which is great, which was awesome. I didn't ask her to do that. I don't ever ask, like, personally, but it was really great. I think that's all the shout outs I wanted to give other than the iTunes reviews that I wanted to do for this.
Awesome.
Leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps the show out. If you have a podcast app, if you have an iPhone and you have the podcast app, you can search up Bad Catholic Dads and then you can click on the reviews tab and leave us a review. Reviews really, really, really help out the show. Basically how reviews work is it's like a star-based system. So the more like stars you have, you get bumped up on the religion and spirituality list. And then if anyone searches like Catholic or anything like that, it'll be one of the first to show. So please leave us a review. If you don't have the podcast app on iTunes or on the iPhone, you can go to iTunes if you have iTunes. And you can just search us up on iTunes in the podcast section, and it should come up. You can leave us a review there. But I wanted to shout out my friend Andrew. I mentioned him on the last show. He actually called me this week, Derek, to congratulate me on the podcast. And
that's awesome.
How awesome it's like. He's really, really into it. He's the dang it. What was his hold on. He's the associate director of campus ministry for the Diocese of Richmond.
Okay.
So he oversees like a lot of the or pretty much almost all the Catholic campus ministries in Virginia in the Richmond Diocese. And he wrote us a review. He was like, "How do I leave you a review? I want to leave you a review."
Oh, that's awesome.
And he left us a review. And he titled it 2 thumbs up. And his name is Manning Face. So he's a big New York Giants fan. He's from New York.
Nice, yeah.
And the Manning face is, of course, like a famous meme of Eli Manning. So it's really funny. Anyway, he says, this new podcast is quickly rising up my weekly playlist. Each week has been better than the last, and these 2 Catholic dads have great stories about the faith and fatherhood. They are striving for authenticity, and so far they are hitting the nail on the head. So
man, what a good review. That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much. Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew. Almost forgot his name there. He's a huge inspiration. Probably one of the most one of the guys I look up to. He was my college campus minister when I was at Old Dominion, and really awesome guy. We're close friends to this day, and so shout out to you, Andrew.
Yeah, no, and that's like having like Patty or Mark or people like just leaving like a comment for us, to talk on the show. I mean, that's exciting to see some people, just being involved with it. It's
right.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And
when you see people starting to follow it or like retweet, that's like really awesome, and it's really humbling,
exactly.
and it inspires us to do
yeah,
do harder work, like to work on this.
And I would say, like, how I like to explain this podcast, I wanted to say this in the beginning, but I'll say it next week. But how I like to explain this podcast, Derek, is just we're like two Catholic friends, even just hanging out and talking to each other about the faith and about family and about life. And we just happen to have microphones in front of us, Derek. And, and honestly, our goal is not to convert anyone. It's to converse with each other.
Yeah.
And
that's a great
part
point.
of that is conversing with you and me, or you and I, on this podcast, but conversing with the audience and the listeners. And so, guys, if you have any questions or if you have any topics or comments or whatever you guys want to send us, send them our way. We would love to. As you can see, we love the shout out section of the Bad Catholic Dads podcast, and we would love to just converse with you guys. Like that's really what it's all about. Growing and spreading the gospel and living our lives, according to our faith. So.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. All right, so keep going with shout-outs. $10 Patreon shout-outs. So if you sub for us for $10, you get an official shout-out every podcast. And I want to shout out our friend Chris Batu, Derek.
Oh, Chris.
Old friend of ours. We used to do podcasts and videos and gaming stuff with each other. He started his own channel called Wabi Sabi Stories. Are you familiar with this, Derek?
Yeah.
So basically, it's a YouTube video podcast about just sharing people's lives and their stories and what made them who they are today. And so it's pretty cool. So check out Wabi Sabi Stories. It's like a Japanese idea, I believe, of like beauty. Even though there's like beauty in even like ugly things, I guess. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but it's something like that. Anyway, check out Wabi Sabi Stories on YouTube. And again, leave us a review. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We're heavy on Twitter. Search up Bad Catholic Dads. And lastly, you can support us on Patreon if you feel like it, or if you feel called to. If not, everything is free right now. So, support us on Patreon. Check out our Patreon page at Bad Catholic Dads. So that's all I have for you, Derek.
Yeah, no. And just to add on that, I would think we take prayers. I mean, prayers for John right now with this transition to have 2 kids in the house. It's a big deal. So pray
what did you
specifically.
say to me about like a long time ago? You were like 1 is like something, and then 2 is like even, and then 3 is just like 2 or something like that. Was that you?
Well, 3. Yeah. Once you add that 3rd, man, it's not as bad. You just learn how to play zone defense, and you're good. Because right now you can do man to man.
Yeah, we can do man to man, which is what we've been doing.
It's good. It's good teamwork, and it's a good training into the 3rd. And honestly, 3rd wasn't really bad. We'll find out what the 4th is going to be like soon. But
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
But that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So everybody, thank you so much for listening. We are looking forward to getting out a possible bonus episode, and otherwise we will see you next week.
See you guys next week.